Set the screen. Back to Boston. Mismatch against Alicia Gray, and she buried it. Biggest lead of the night. And it's taken away by who else? Mitchell. Lexie Hull buried it to beat the Boston. And they're up 15.
The refs couldn't steal this one. After all the frustration of Game 1's controversial officiating, the Indiana Fever stormed Gainbridge Fieldhouse and never looked back, crushing the Atlanta Dream in a defensive masterclass that left absolutely no room for doubt. This wasn't just basketball. This was redemption served ice cold, with Caitlin Clark cheering from the sidelines as her teammates delivered their first playoff victory in almost a decade. But what happened in those 40 minutes wasn't just a win. It was a statement that echoed through every corner of that arena. And when Aaliyah Boston finally spoke post-game, her words captured the very heartbeat of a team that refuses to be broken. Picture this.
Game 3, baby, game 3!
See you in Atlanta.
Not done yet.
One more.
Jump to the chat, baby. Come on, come on.
Need that.
One more game, baby.
You're walking into Gainbridge Fieldhouse for Game 2, and the energy isn't just electric, it's volcanic. These fans didn't just show up ready for playoff basketball. They walked in carrying anger, raw and unfiltered anger from what they witnessed just days earlier. Game 1 had ended with whistles that felt one-sided, moments that looked like the deck was stacked against Indiana, and people weren't just frustrated, they were calling it highway robbery. When you play
Hall got me riled up because this was early on in the game, and this was probably the best defense that Lexie could have played. If you watch this play here, Ryan Howard is going down, Lexie Hall's guarding her, Ryan goes behind her back, Lexie doesn't touch her because she's backpedaling the whole time, she has her hands straight up. Like, this is really good defense that Lexie played here.
Hard out and feel like officials tilted the balance. It's easy to lose focus, easy to let that frustration consume everything you've worked for. But here's where this story takes a turn that nobody saw coming. Indiana didn't just have to deal with that burning outrage from their fan base. They had to do it while missing 5 players. 5. Caitlin Clark was ruled out for the season. Sophie Cunningham was missing. Sydney Colson was unavailable. Chloe Bibby couldn't.
There's a certain desperation that has to come with how you play every possession. I didn't feel like in Game 1 we played with that desperate mentality that we needed, particularly when you look at 50-50 balls, when you look at how many times, we didn't get inside the three-point line for a defensive rebound and the ball hit the floor and they were able to get it. There's got to be a desperation that you play with and a sense of urgency that you play with at all times. We didn't have that consistently for 40 minutes in Game 1. I expect us to have it here tonight.
And Erica Wheeler was also sidelined. That's not just depth issues. That's a rotation squeezed so thin it could snap at any moment, right when the stakes couldn't be higher. Head coach Stephanie White knew.
Stephanie White wants to see her go downhill, be more aggressive offensively. This is a great matchup. Boston against Jones.
Just a fun matchup between 2 big posts with size.
Exactly what was brewing in that locker room before tip-off. She looked at her depleted roster and delivered a message that cut straight to the bone. There's got to be a desperation that you play with and a sense of urgency that you play with at all times. This wasn't coach speak or motivational fluff. This was a gut check, a challenge thrown down like a gauntlet. She was demanding her team find something deeper than talent, something that couldn't be taken away by questionable calls or missing personnel. What we witnessed from the opening possession.
This is the other Howard, Natasha for Indiana. Powers with the board, goes up, tough one and got it!
Was nothing short of basketball poetry written in defensive dominance. Indiana didn't just score first. They created a tone that made the referees completely irrelevant. They defended without hesitation, moved the ball with purpose, and before Atlanta could even steady themselves, before the Dream could find their rhythm, Indiana had seized control and never let go. For the first time since 2002, the Fever went wire to wire in a playoff victory. No lead change.
That was a masterclass on the defensive end of the game. Hell yeah, ladies. Hell yeah. It really was. It really was. I mean, I'm so proud of you. Stepped up to the challenge. back against the wall, and our back is against the wall every fucking game. But y'all, look, I'm proud of you. We ain't finished though, right? We ain't finished. KK, way to be ready. The second half of your aggressiveness, it was a difference maker. What it opens up with the gravity that you create is huge for us. You gotta stay aggressive.
There's no ties, just complete and utter control for 40 straight minutes. Think about what that means. In a playoff atmosphere where every possession matters, where momentum can shift on a single call, Indiana erased every possible window for controversy. They made it impossible for anyone to question the outcome because the dominance was written in every statistical category, painted across the scoreboard in numbers that told an undeniable story. The defense turned this game into a suffocating masterpiece. Atlanta, a team that thrives on perimeter shooting and fast-paced offense, couldn't breathe against Indiana's relentless pressure. In the first half alone, the Dream managed just one successful three-pointer out of 10 attempts. By the time the final buzzer sounded, those numbers had barely improved. 5 for 19 from beyond the arc and under 40% shooting overall. Their rhythm wasn't just disrupted, it was completely shattered. Every possession looked rushed, every shot felt forced, and Indiana dictated absolutely everything that happened on that floor. But this wasn't just about shutting down one aspect of Atlanta's game plan. This was systematic destruction, piece by piece, possession by possession, until the Dream had nowhere left to turn. And then came the individual performance.
And they have allowed her in their half-court sets so far to just take open drive to the rim. There's the three.
And fans didn't appreciate how good Kelsey Mitchell is, and they're certainly getting an eyeful this year. Here she goes. She's guarded by Petty, takes it right to the basket and misses. It's a hit for Mitchell.
That will be talked about for years. Kelsey Mitchell stepped into the spotlight like she was born for this moment. With Caitlin Clark's usual gravity absent from the floor, Mitchell had to create her own offense, command defensive attention on every trip down the court, and she embraced that challenge with everything she had. 19 points, 4 three-pointers, many of them momentum-shifting shots that stretched the lead and forced Atlanta to chase all night long. This was her stage, her home playoff debut as the veteran leader this team needed.
Had a lot of moments with this franchise throughout the years. Where does leading them to a playoff win at home kind of rank among those?
Oh, man, it takes a village. I think we all piggyback off each other within our group and in our organization. So I think it took a collective group effort to be able to be here. And I think that our first win here was big for us because we've been resilient throughout the course of the year. And it was just, I don't know, it felt really good to see ourselves on top and do something great for a change. When it comes to us being resilient, have to fight off a lot of ups and downs, backs and forth. And so it felt good for us to really, come out on top tonight.
And she made sure the crowd had plenty to celebrate. Aaliyah Boston added the kind of steady, dominant production that makes her presence in the paint absolutely impossible to ignore. 15 points, crucial rebounds, 3 assists. She was quietly stacking statistics while dictating the interior game against one of the toughest front courts in the league. Every trip to the post reminded Atlanta that Indiana now has a centerpiece they simply cannot push around, not even in the pressure cooker atmosphere of postseason
Stephanie White wants to see her go downhill, be more aggressive offensively. This is a great matchup. Boston against Jones.
Just a fun matchup between two big posts with size, with good anything.
Boston up, under, and in.
basketball. But if toughness had a face for this Fever squad, it belonged to Natasha Howard. 12 points, 5 hard-fought rebounds, and that intangible edge this team desperately needed. Howard did all the dirty work that never shows up in highlight reels, but absolutely shows up on the scoreboard. She battled under the rim on both ends, found open spots on offense, and provided the kind of scoring punch that kept Indiana in complete control throughout the night. Then
both teams around that 40% mark. They didn't hit that in game one, and that's a good way to go. Gray goes down. Good patience by Howard. Mitchell bounce pass, Natasha Howard, and it rolls in.
Howard has had great.
Came the spark that nobody saw coming, the kind of moment that makes playoff basketball absolutely magical. Rookie Michaela Timson, who had barely seen minutes all season long, poured in 9 points in just 9 minutes of playing time. She entered when rotations were thin and immediately brought an energy that was infectious. Quick finishes, aggressive moves, and a confidence you simply don't expect from a rookie in this kind of pressure-packed atmosphere. Those 9 points weren't just statistical filler. They were an injection of pure momentum.
Boston bottled up, but found Timson. Another good pass from Boston. Great passing out of double.
Pam, before the game, you asked Steph White, how are you doing this? She looked at you and said, the core group has been resilient and flexible. We saw that towards the end of the quarter, and they continue to start the
At
fourth.
exactly the right moment. Proof that Indiana's depth still had surprises left to reveal. And for the biggest crowd reaction of the entire night, that belonged to Lexie Hull, and one moment that will live forever in Gainbridge Fieldhouse lore. As the third quarter wound down, she lined up that three-pointer and drilled a buzzer-beating shot that sent the entire arena into absolute chaos. The noise that followed said everything about what this moment meant to a fan base that had been waiting years for something had absolutely nowhere left to go. Aaliyah Boston wasn't just scoring points and grabbing rebounds in Game 2. She was reshaping the entire rhythm and flow of the game. Without Caitlin Clark setting up plays and creating opportunities, Boston became the anchor this team desperately needed. She stood strong in the middle, forced difficult decisions.
Aaliyah Coffee in for her. She has got to take advantage of those opportunities as the defense is reacting to Bree Jones, and Aaliyah Boston was taking a little
on every possession and set the tone on both ends of the floor. She didn't just fill her usual role. She expanded it, showing everyone watching that she can lead emotionally just as effectively as she can with her footwork in the post. That dual presence made Indiana more dangerous because every single adjustment Atlanta tried to make ran straight into Boston's influence. In Game 1, that matchup with Ryan Howard had given Indiana real problems, real headaches that seemed impossible to solve. This time, Boston completely flipped the script.
You were about able to get going. It looked like there were some turnovers elsewhere, and so you kind of put it into your own hands and had that nice run before some foul calls.
Yeah, I think for me, just continue to be assertive. Just reading the defense, trying to get good possessions going. If I just get the ball, feel it out, see where the ball needs to go next, whether that's shoot it or pass it. I mean, I'm just kind of just taking what the defense is giving me.
Howard, out of comfortable spots, stayed firm on the block and made her presence felt on every single possession. The difference was crystal clear. Atlanta could no longer run their offense through the paint the way they wanted to. Once that outlet was shut down, everything else for the Dream felt forced, rushed, and ultimately ineffective. When Boston caught the ball inside, she knew Atlanta would have to bring help, and she turned those double teams into easy opportunities for teammates. She was swinging the ball, finding cutters, giving Kelsey Mitchell and Lexie Hull the kinds of openings they absolutely thrive on. That's the kind of growth that separates good players from great ones.
That sequence right at the end of the third quarter, just speak to the importance of that, and that kind of feel like sort of like the backbreaker for Atlanta, so to speak, when you.
Yeah, that was great for us. That seriously was. Scoring the ball and then getting that tip and then Lexie hitting that three. I mean, the energy, everyone felt it. The crowd was going crazy, and we just used that momentum into the.
Earlier in her career, double teams could slow Boston down, make her hesitate, force her into difficult positions. In this game, they became a weapon she used against her opponents, a chess move that created advantages across the entire floor. As the final minutes ticked away and the victory became undeniable, you could see something shift in that arena. This wasn't just about evening the series at one game apiece. This was about identity, about proving that this franchise still belongs among the elite teams in this league. The crowd wasn't just celebrating a win.
Of a win like this, Kelsey already kind of touched on it, but what's the vibe like in the locker room after you get a dominating win?
Yeah, I mean, everyone was happy. The vibes were really great. I think, just like Kel said, this was super big for us. Our backs were definitely against the wall in this, and we know that we've just been through so much this season that coming out with this win and then
they were celebrating the return of Indiana Fever basketball, the kind of tough, gritty, relentless style that had been missing for far too long. Now the series shifts to Atlanta, and Game 3 becomes everything. The momentum has completely swung, the pressure has shifted, And it all comes down to one night in a hostile environment where visiting teams rarely walk out with elimination game victories. The Gateway Center Arena will be loud. Atlanta will play desperate. But that's exactly the kind of storm Indiana has been preparing for all season long. Atlanta's biggest problem heading into Game 3 is that Game 2 made all their weaknesses completely obvious. They couldn't hit shots consistently, finishing with just 39.4% from the floor. Their perimeter players never found any kind of rhythm against Indiana's pressure. 5 for 19 from deep simply isn't good enough in playoff basketball, where every single basket carries enormous weight.
Steph holding them to 60 points today. What did you see that was so effective from you guys defensively and really turned this game?
I mean, our aggressiveness, our attention to detail, our ability to contest without fouling, to be disciplined, in that area, I thought was huge. We played good enough defense down there, and our offense just couldn't get going, and we were able to get it going on both sides tonight. I continue to just be so proud of this group and their resilience, their toughness.
When your offense gets forced into rushed shots and your spacing completely collapses, it exposes just how much you rely on pace and rhythm. Indiana controlled that pace, and that blueprint is exactly the kind of thing that travels well regardless of which arena you're playing in. For Indiana, the key pieces don't change just because they're hitting the road. Kelsey Mitchell's scoring ability remains reliable, and her capacity to create space without Caitlin Clark drawing defenders makes her one of the most dangerous players on any court. Aaliyah Boston's post presence continues to be the anchor, her control of the paint forcing double teams that create openings everywhere else. Natasha Howard will once again embrace the physical battles, fighting for extra possessions and providing that edge this team feeds off of. And then there's the wild card, Michaela Timson. 9 points in 9 minutes. Doesn't happen by accident. Doesn't happen without real skill and composure. The question now becomes whether a rookie can walk into that kind of hostile environment and deliver that same spark when the lights are brightest and the stakes are highest. Psychologically, Indiana might actually hold the advantage heading into Game 3. Think about
to a do-or-die Game 3. What excites you about that opportunity as a competitor?
I think it would be a really good challenge for us. I think, obviously we want to win a game and they want to win a game, so I think somebody has to lose and somebody has to win, obviously. But I think that we take tonight for what it is and start mentally preparing once it hit 12 o'clock and being able to go into what's important for Thursday. And so, like I said, it's a big opportunity tonight, but you gotta let it be the moment and let it kind of fuel you for Thursday. But
how the pressure has shifted. Atlanta is the favorite playing at home. They're expected to win, and yet they're the ones reeling after watching their game plan get completely dismantled. Meanwhile, Indiana just wiped away nearly a decade of postseason frustration with one dominant performance, proving they can succeed without their biggest star on the court. That kind of confidence is powerful, and confidence can quiet a hostile crowd just as effectively as a fast start can energize your own fans. Atlanta will adjust. They'll look to move the ball faster, push tempo, and attack before Indiana can set their defense. They understand the stakes as clearly as anyone. But this Fever team has been forged by adversity throughout the entire season, surviving injuries, silencing doubters, and now staring directly at a do-or-die challenge that will define their entire future.
How much does a win like this give you guys confidence that you can close out the series in a tough situation on the road?
Yeah, I think that this is a group that's confidence has really never wavered. We've been in every kind of situation you can imagine, and we've been able to find ways to put ourselves in position to win, and this will be no different. Obviously, it's going to be on the opponent's home floor, but it doesn't matter. I think for us, our if we maintain our attention to detail, if we continue the defensive effort that we had tonight, and we shoot with confidence, we give ourselves a chance. And this group is continued to show their heart, their character, night in and night out.
Went far beyond what showed up on the scoreboard. It reminded every fan in that arena what Indiana basketball truly represents. Resilience that can't be broken, unity that can't be divided, and grit that simply refuses to quit. After nearly a decade without a playoff victory, the Fever finally reclaimed their identity with a performance that erased doubt and reignited hope for the future. Game 3 isn't just another elimination game. It's the chance to change this franchise's entire trajectory, to prove they belong among the league's elite teams once again. The Fever silenced the referees, silenced the doubters, and now it's time to see if they can shock the entire league. The stage is set, the stakes couldn't be higher, and Indiana has already proven they're ready for whatever comes next.